Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. My name is Huda London, and today I wanted to analyze something that I've taken time to analyze. Many YouTube creators has jumped on this topic, and I've watched each and every episode of the vampires. I am proud of it. I watched it during the lockdown and after the lockdown. You know when you get bored and start watching everything? And it was really mystical. It's strange because they come from the mystical falls. What happens? Today we're going to do some critical thinking together. So this is all my thoughts, my opinions, my speculations, and nothing else. Dylan Mortensen brought this topic up on the body cam. She said she was watching Vampire Diaries. Today, I want to do some of my skills, or talk about some of my skills, without even explaining them. Mental health comes from psychology. CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, comes from, it's like a triangle. How you think is going to lead to a certain behavior. C is the cognitive, B is your behavior, and T is the therapy. In CBT, we don't focus a lot on emotions, but that doesn't mean we're not therapists who don't deal with people who have PTSD or personality disorders like bipolar, histrionic disorder, borderline personality disorder. And I wish all the people love or suffering of any health conditions to start with, and especially mental health. That's why I wanted to talk about some critical thinking. So, let me talk about the surviving roommates. I never thought that the day would come after so many years that we can clearly see Dylan Mortensen, DM, is acting not only like a victim, not only like a survivor. She's acting, this is all in my opinion, from a script. The Vampire Diaries. DM told the police she's watching the Vampire Diaries. What has changed is from the beginning of this case, I've said a couple of times, strangely enough, that Idaho, Moscow reminds me of the Mystical Falls. And the Mystical Falls, everyone who's watched Vampire Diaries knows, is from the Vampire Diaries. I backed off on this topic of DM's report because I wanted to take my time and give a fair judgment to why would the TV be on Now you have reported that your roommates are not getting up, decided to take 8 to 9 hours, depends on what timeline you go by, because we were always told until Brian Christopher Koberger was arrested, we were told this crimes happened between 3 to 4 a.m. Let's not forget that. I want you all to pay attention to STEPHAN Salvatore's Damien, his brother. He's one of the actors. He's usually calm, but like y'all know, they're vampires. So they've come back 120 years ago, from 1953, some of them. Pay attention to STEPHAN. His eyebrows. Doesn't that remind you of someone? His hair. I'm sure you're what DM psychologically could be thinking. She showed us the episode where STEPHAN, once he turns into the Ripper and he's in Chicago, like in the 1940s or 50s, then he comes back in the 2000-somethings. So this is when he comes back. He's trying to fight his good and bad ways. But he's trying to fight his brother's demons too, who's misbehaving himself. But what is interesting, it's all about college life. The Vampire Diaries has everything. Literally everything that represents a evil worship, society, non-worship. You can call it whatever you want to call it. No matter what faith you are, what religion you carry, no matter what skin color you have. Everyone has one thing in common. We all have a heart. We all are humans. And when we literally see people acting the Vampire Diaries, it makes more sense. Bonnie, the girl on the right, is one of the 3 of the important friends. The one on the left is actually the most famous one. And then you have the blonde girl who's not here, which I'll show you, Caroline. And then you have Bonnie. So it was STEPHAN jumping. It was him and Caroline in that episode who were searching for Bonnie because they found out that she has witchcrafts. Since DM was watching the episode, I thought of telling you my thoughts about that episode. Not only that episode, in general, why I still stand by my theories and why I believe that this was so violent. Let's do some critical thinking. We're all adults. Let's put blame aside. We all are parents. Some of us could do better jobs. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. But what happens when our children, our young children in the ages of early 20s, whether they're girls or boys, live in fraternities and sororities? They're supposed to be living with discipline, but what happens if a house becomes a party zone? May the victims rest in peace. Obviously, it's going to be a house that anyone would want to target. Social media plays an important role. All kinds of social media, because that was what Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen were using. We saw that in the transcripts. But these people were actually getting their theories, thoughts. If you keep on watching dark thoughts, you're going to have negative automatic thoughts. But these people actually took fiction to reality, in my opinion only. These two characters and Caroline the blonde girl are the three main girls. And then there's Damon and his brother STEPHAN. STEPHAN was trying to unalive the girl on the right, Bonnie. It's a very confusing show, Vampire Diaries. You just have to be patient to understand the psychology behind it. It's so demonized. There's so much evil happening. And this is what they were watching. The fact that STEPHAN, that's the character of STEPHAN, I showed you all, has bushy eyebrows. Let's start with there. Something interesting that nobody has mentioned. STEPHAN has bushy eyebrows. So DM got the idea of bushy eyebrows from STEPHAN's character. STEPHAN and Damon and these two girls, their third friend, for me I feel like it's Maddie, Kaylee and Zana. They were popular girls. I believe jealousy, revenge, everything could have been involved. This was a party house. The house was the target. That is facts. That's not something I made up. So DM got the line, "I'm here to help you," from Bonnie and STEPHAN, his character. Look at the eyebrows. Doesn't he have bushy eyebrows? What I'm trying to say is Dylan Mortensen got a whole act from the Vampire Diaries. Look at the hairstyle. Does that remind you of someone you know? So the three victims, Maddie, Katie, and Zana, allegedly, in my opinion, could have been the other two girls I showed you, Bonnie and Elena and Carolina, the three main characters. Let's not forget, Idaho is a suburb. It's a small town. They were never on anyone's radar. But then again, rugs pass through there. Anything's passed through there. Maybe the new routes easier to Mexico and other places. I don't believe this was any cartel hurt. I never believe that. Rugs are just local, whatever or whoever is involved. Let's focus in the beginning. You know my channel. We always go back to the beginning every 2 months. And we always actually are in the beginning. Because that's actually what was the facts, I believe. We were told those were rumors. Everything we heard in the beginning seems to be making sense in the reports, which are not supposed to make sense at all. It is just baffling. But after I understood what DM told the cops, I understood exactly what was going on. I wanted to come back to bushy eyebrows. Let's focus the fact that DM said she was watching Vampire. Look at the description of STEPHAN. The hair, the ears, not the nose much. This is the description she gave. Bushy eyebrows. Because she was watching Vampire Diaries. So she made it all up, in my opinion. And I can't help but notice she's getting paid for that. Over $110,000 in GoFundMes. Doesn't make sense. So she got the bushy eyebrows from here. Look at this description. DM told the cops she was watching Vampire Diaries. The chief said that the house was the target. And the timeline was between 3 to 4 a.m. 2 a.m. is the hardest time. Those are all important things to remember. But today I'm talking about the bushy eyebrows and comparing it to the Vampire Diaries. I'm here to help has been found by many people. That is excellent. So we can clearly see a pattern of lying with DM. In the beginning, the sheriff said, Chief Fry, said I never said that the surviving roommates were witnesses. I said they were just there. Please pay attention to the last two sentences. She advised, actually the last three sentences. She advised she knows what she heard, especially about hearing what she believed was Kaylee crying. The male voice telling her he was there for her. We saw that in Vampire Diaries. She started again. She does not know how much of what she had been telling us was not fictional because she is still processing the events. So the surviving roommate is telling the cops that she doesn't know what she's saying because she's still processing the events. And all her statements are from the Vampire Diaries, especially the bushy eyebrows. All this I'm talking about is about critical thinking. This is all just proof that we can't ignore. Whether you're with Kohlberger or against Kohlberger, it's not the point. We care about the 4 victims first. And we can see that something is clearly not right, especially with the crime scene. In the beginning, Chief Rice said, always, the house. Then he said, one of the victims, or we don't know how many of them, could have been the targets. And then the prosecutor said the residence was a target, and then they debunked both. It was obviously both. The targets are the 4 victims. The resident is part of the target because if they're hiding rugs there, money laundering, whatever's happening there, in my opinion, could just blow out of hand. Like I showed you yesterday, the Halloween night was so really terrible to DM. You can see it from the crime scene photos of her room. There's things tied to her bed. Did she gag the victims? Zana and DM shared the same floor. There had to be some kind of tension going on there because Zana wanted a father and she got a father the weekend before the quadruples to fix her locks. Think about that. So something was already brewing up. Zana used to spend most of her time at the Sigma Chi. Ethan was living, allegedly, or it seems like now, at King Road. It seemed like towards the end. So what was happening between Ethan and the Sigma Chi fraternity and Zana? I believe that was the first unaliving, between 2 to 2:15, from 1:56 to 2:15. The more closer and closer I come to the timeline, the more accurate I believe it is. 2 a.m. is the hardest time for Stacy and her family. I personally believe that all of the 4 victims were targets. The Vampire Diaries has rituals. Bonnie does witchcraft. Although it's a fictional Dracula and vampire series, people can actually, let's not forget, our brain cells cognitively develop at the age of 26, 27. If everyone goes back to when they were that age, and some of y'all even haven't reached that age, I wish everyone luck, but think when you're that age, there's something that clicks more. You understand responsibilities more, even if you've had children younger than that age. And these people were in their 19 and 20s. What happened to them? The Vampire Diaries will explain, because it's all rituals, vampires, demons, and on. Trigger warning. These 4 victims were done really horribly. And obviously, the college gets 40% of their funding. The whole of Idaho gets from this college. So, do I believe they covered up? Yes, for their fraternities, sororities, and their reputation. Looking at the crime scene, I would say something happened in DM's room. But I believe 2 of the victims were not even alive at home. So I've always said, it could have happened at 4 a.m. Maybe the body cams that they're showing us, it doesn't even show a white Hyundai Elantra. It just shows a Sierra, a light color Sierra. But STEPHAN from the Vampire Diaries is where DM got her descriptions from. STEPHAN from the Vampire Diaries, Salvatore. had the same hair like BK, the same eyebrows. BK looks like he's in some recovering addict mode. I'm sure his father personally knew that there could be trouble with his work, of course, and the professors and all. But why would the FBI let BK go for 7 weeks wandering around? They haven't found any internet pictures of anything or DM that he slided DMs in Maddie's Instagram and such things. This is where DM got the description of the bushy eyebrows from BK. The hair, the height, athletic build, that's all STEPHAN from the Vampire Diaries. And the 3 main character victims in Mystic Fall College were all girls. Zana, may she rest in peace. Maddie, may she rest in peace. And Zana. They were playing the Vampire Diaries. They were unaliving people, in my opinion. But this is where she got the bushy eyebrows from. DM got the description of BK, his eyebrows and his hair from STEPHAN Salvatore in the Vampire Diaries. Not only did the character STEPHAN in the Vampire Diaries run after Bonnie when she was getting her witch powers, he says, "Wait, I'm here to help you." And then he says, "Caroline." He calls the other important female Caroline, like they're trying to get Bonnie down, but they're all her friends. So she took the whole description of STEPHAN from the Vampire Diaries. She gave the cops that description so that they would arrest Brian Koberger. Brian Koberger had to be there for a reason, and I don't think he came to unalive. I think he came to buy rugs. That was the party house. There was a lot going on in that house, let's be honest. So we as parents should be more focused on our children. We shouldn't just expect the community, the system to help us. Because everywhere in the world, people are suffering. And when we send our young ones to fraternities and sororities, some of them, especially that's the university life. As parents, you have to let your child access life and learn true things. But when there's so much social media and so much sins going on, these youngins were chilling in the house, took it upon themselves to unalive the victims without mentioning them all. But it's the fraternities, sororings, surviving roommates, sororities, they all knew. Why didn't they call the cops before 10 a.m.? That's the main question. Please like, share, and subscribe.